it's quite tight. I think like CJ probably, like he meant if he plays against Wales at home next week, he needs to have a big game, you know. There's an argument not to bring CJ if he doesn't have a big game at home. If Conan went well this week, and you use Jordy Murphy to cover, it's just not a nice situation to be in. And listen, they can get over it and they can deal with it. There's loads of experience, but it just would have been so much better if the performance was just a fair bit better against England.
I remember talking on this podcast, and I think it was yourself, Bernard, who made the point when he broke his face essentially against England in the Six Nations, that the rest might actually do him good. And when he did return, there seemed to be a spring in his step. He carried really effectively. Like, he looked far fresher just from having perhaps not played over the course of a few weeks. But certainly from what we saw at Twickenham, and probably more recently in a general sense, even going back to the end of Munster season, he's looked pretty ineffective again, hasn't he, really, Murray?
Yeah, like to be fair, in my match report I wrote that he was anonymous, because it certainly felt like that watching the game. He had 3 carries, and I went back through the game obviously to see like why did that happen. It was really strange how they actually used him, or how he inserted himself into the game plan. A lot of the times he was positioned out a little bit wider in their kind of shape, the forward spreading across the pitch, which I can understand. Maybe you want to get him into more one-on-one situations where he can use his carrying skill when he's not bogged down with 2 or 3 defenders on top of him. But at other times he was in those forward carrying pods, but he might be that plus player just outside the central carrier. So there was 2 occasions, I think, where Rory Best was the primary carrier in the middle of the pod and CJ Sanders just outside, and maybe they're looking to get those tip-on passes into play. But to me, it was really strange that his primary strength is his carrying, and he wasn't even being used to do that. Even when you worry that his carrying isn't as effective as it was, or as fresh as it was, he doesn't use that footwork or the pass as much, he's still getting through a massive work rate, and that was strangely not there in this game.